Hello, family. Today I'm here to reflect on the expulsion of the Israeli representatives from the African Union Summit of 2023 that has just been held like 10 days ago. So I say, expulsion of the Israeli representatives from the AU Summit was not Pan Africanism, but a hypocrisy. And this is my reasoning. Was the AU right to expel Israeli representatives from its recently concluded summit? Was it done in the spirit of Pan-Africanism or hypocrisy? That is the question that has both occupied and divided my mind for the last 2 weeks, as much as it has divided everyone else into two antagonist camps in the public sphere and in the AU membership as well. On one side, it is the pro-Israeli camp that has taken offense at the expulsion, arguing that the AU acted irrationally against an ally to most of African Union member states. On the other hand, it is the pro-Palestine camp which has taken satisfaction from the expulsion and has commended AU for sympathizing with Palestine, an apparent victim of apartheid Israel. Now, I am sure that every one of you likely belongs to one of these two camps, and I respect that. I respect that you are standing up for Israel for whatever reasons. I'm sure there are many. And I respect that you are standing up for Palestine also for whatever reasons. I'm sure there are many. But come to think of it, who is standing up for Africa? That's the question we need to ask. In other words, who is pro-Africa? To ask such a question is to ask whether the AU considered the likely gain or otherwise loss to Africa from expelling those representatives. And I ask because the African Union as Africa's representative can only relate with non-African countries based on either morals, which is right or wrong, or interests, which is gain or loss. That is the gold standard question in international relations and organizations that are relevant to the constituencies that they represent. Choose interest relationships. The EU is a classic example for what we discussed today. Its decision to back the US position supporting Ukraine rather than back Russia in the ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe is based on interests. It knows that the US is its biggest trading partner, its chief guarantor of security, and its leading economic buffer. No doubt about that. Ask yourself, were this an EU summit? Would the EU have expelled US representatives based on whims of right and wrongs against Russia? But of course, while the European Union tendered its support to the US and Ukraine based on interests, they were asking us, meaning Africans, to support Ukraine based on morals. Russia is evil, contaminates. They didn't think that, like them, we Africans have the right to stand up for whomever we want, based on interests, of course, on what there is to gain or lose. And that's exactly what the AU member states did in the vote in the United Nations. But again, let's not lose track of my argument today here. The point I am driving in is that we shouldn't have, meaning Africa shouldn't have to choose or stand up for anybody but for ourselves. And that means standing with whoever meets our interests as a continent or otherwise remaining neutral. So coming back to the Israeli-Palestine question, I want to submit that the decision to expel Israeli representatives was not based on Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism prioritized first and foremost the interests of Africans and would have been careful not to antagonize the historic relationship and partnership of Israel with African countries in areas of health, agriculture, science, education, technology, water, sanitation, you name it, and others. On the contrary, the decision was based on hypocrisy, on the measure of right and wrong, disguised as Pan-Africanism. And that's the worst part. And in defense of this position, or my position, I tender 4 key observations. First, Israeli representatives were expelled, but Palestinian representatives were retained. This is not only the African Union taking sides in foreign conflict in contravention of its own policy of non-alignment, but also doing so in a conflict where Africa has nothing to gain. And if anything more, actually, maybe a loss, considering economic ties of most of the member states with Israel. The second reason is that if expelling those representatives was the AU, or if expelling those representatives was meant that for AU enforcing its commitment to fighting neo-colonialism in all its myriad forms, then why were the EU and US representatives not only retained but honored with front row seats? This not only have a dark colonial history of enslaving and exploiting Africa, but also continue to do so even today. Look at France, still colonizing the western part of the continent. Furthermore, the AU continues to deny, and this is the most important, accreditation of African countries. Yes, I call them African countries in the Caribbean, including like Haiti, which, by the way, is denied to be a member of the AU. But Haiti still continues to be colonized by some European countries, even today. Let me state one fact, actually, for Haiti. To belong to Africa or get a membership at the AU is not something to be decided for Haiti. It's a place that Haitians, like Ethiopians in the continent, earned after they fought for their independence more than 200 years ago. They paved the way for every other African nation to be free today. So historically speaking, Haiti should have been in the AU already. From this kind of agenda is the African Union diverting us by doing some nonsense things. Third, if the AU's intention of expelling Israel was an attempt to voice its opinion on Israel-Palestine conflict, how does it contribute to helping in resolving the conflict? On the contrary, expelling Israeli representatives is closing the door to international dialogue with both parties to the conflict. This is wrong in many ways. The main point of having foreign representatives is to help maintain effective communication with their governments, without which the world might be at a constant state of war today. It's only for diplomacy that certain countries can coexist in harmony. By expelling Israel, the AU disqualified itself as a potential arbiter. The AU should be talking and listening at the same time, both to Palestinian and Israeli representatives, rather than expelling any. Number 4, a representative of the League of Arab Nations was privileged to address the summit. Again, this was the AU preferentially giving a platform to an anti-Israeli organization, while at the same time muzzling Israel in the name of Pan-Africanism. Moreover, the Arab League of Nations, to which some African Union members double their membership, is on record for undermining African interests. Let me give you an example. For example, Ethiopia building its Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the GERD, is actually condemned by all the Arab League of Nations members. They all ganged up against Ethiopia. So again, where is the Pan-Africanism in here? Number 5, this is like a bonus again for my argument. Both Israel and Palestine agreed to a two-state solution based on the Oslo agreements. This is a fact. By expelling Israel, the AU is actually undermining that international position rather than supporting it, which both accept, by the way. That said, regardless of which side one is standing in this Israel and Palestine question, the physical, almost confrontational manner in which the representatives of Israel was ejected from the African Union there was improper. The AU is first a diplomatic entity. Yes, it's a Pan-Africanist organization, but it's not an activist forum and should have handled the issue without drawing a public spectacle and humiliating Israel in the process. Finally, I would like to say that it's a shame that the African Union got itself involved in a controversy involving 2 non-African countries, while there are a lot of things on the table to discuss which are African issues. And in the process, drew attention away from matters of greater significance and interest to Africa, like membership of Caribbean countries in the African Union. Going forward, we must put Africa's interests first, and to that extent, base our decision on how much Africa has to gain. Thank you for listening, and please comment down below on this what you think. Until next time, peace.